Hey guys, you're listening to the Driven Nutrition Podcast.
If you're not following these steps as a business owner, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to help your community.
It's about more than that. It's about me wanting to take my box to the next level.
Welcome to the Beyond Driven Podcast from Driven Nutrition, where we talk about everything beyond supplements, exercising fast, and life in general. Pretty much anything that comes to mind.
For more information about Driven Nutrition, head over to www.drivennutrition.com. Hello guys, and welcome to the Beyond Driven Podcast. I'm your host today, Brenton Rogo. I got a very special guest for you today. My friend Jeff Jucha is joining us today. He's out of West Little Rock CrossFit. I'm really excited for this conversation, Jeff, and getting to know you a little bit and talk more about everything you're doing out there in Arkansas. And let's just go ahead and get started with introducing yourself. Talk a little bit about yourself, kind of give us a general story of who Jeff is.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. So I'm the owner of West Little Rock CrossFit. We started in May of 2012. I was working at a powerhouse gym, which is a chain, Globo Gym style thing.
Yep.
And I had started there when I was younger, 17-ish, I think. I had started at an athletic club when I was 16. But I was there from 17 to 22 years old. And I had worked my way kind of from like cleaning equipment, selling memberships, to being a trainer, to managing it. And at the time I was in school for exercise science. And that gym was moving, but I think they were really closing. And so we had about 3 months or so of no real job going on there while they were doing the move. And I figured it was like, it's time for me to go do my own thing. I was doing athletic training anyway and work with athletes.
Yeah.
Had a view and a way of training that didn't really sit the same way that it did with bodybuilding. And I felt like it was a good move to move towards CrossFit. I had done it a few times. First workout was Murph.
Ooh.
So it's like, yeah, it took almost 2 hours, and I thought I was in shape. Yeah, I was like, well, that was the worst thing in the world, so got to do that again.
Yeah.
But I've been doing it for a little bit, and I had coached a little bit of foundations at another affiliate. It was one of the first ones here in Little Rock. And I just went to my garage during that time. The gym was closed, took all my private clients there, and had a class in the morning, class in the evening, and it filled up. And I didn't charge anything to start off with. People started donating money for equipment, and then from there it grew. And went and found this building that I'm currently in now, and we've been here since then. That was 2012, and 22 then, and now 28. And it's been a ride, and I love doing it, man. It's a lot more aligned with what my perfect day is, and the kind of days I want to spend my life living.
Yeah.
Than it was when I was, what I say, quote, on the dark side of training. So.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. You're 22 years old. You've been working for that company for a while. You're ready to branch on your own. Let's talk a little bit about what that took. You know, you mentioned you started with free classes, things like that. Let's dive a little bit in there.
Yeah. So at the gym, I had my own private clients, and it was a decent split. I think it was like you kept 80% of what you brought in. It was a really sweet deal as a personal trainer. But you still didn't make a ton. But it was enough to live off of. Yeah. And I didn't have to take another job or anything. So I had them, and I figured, at the time, if I took my clients now, I could probably afford a building of my own, and I just need to have the guts to do it. And then after a month of pretty much locking myself into my office at home and writing a business plan, like I was a manager at the time. I gave all my hours away. I was like, everyone else worked these. I need a break. But I was figuring out what I wanted to do. I realized I should just start out in my garage. So I took my private clients there, and that was enough to live off of. And while I was at the gym before I left, we'd been doing CrossFit workouts in the aerobics room, which basically constituted every day at around 1 o'clock, because no one was there.
Right.
I'd go steal all of the barbells in the gym and all of the real weights and go put them in the aerobics room, and I brought my own bumpers in from my house, and like me and the guys would like do CrossFit style workouts, which would be like, all right, we're gonna do Cindy, and then we're gonna hit some back and buys real quick, guys.
Right. Right.
And so there's some interest that was already there before I kind of made the leap.
Yep.
So people knew who I was, and CrossFit was still very small here where I'm at the time. So I was one of the few people who did it. And making the leap to the garage was really just, I was able to just barely swing by with my private training revenue.
Now, is this your house? Like you were living
Yes.
in this house? Okay.
Yeah. And it's like a 2-car garage and a really long driveway, thank God. And it grew from there to where more people told more people, and they started showing up, and it was friends, families, and neighbors. And then it turned into people who were donating money every month for equipment, and it was like, this is basically a business.
Right.
And one of my female clients at the time was like, I'm not coming back till you make it a real thing. Like, can you go this needs to be something real. Like, you're stopping yourself here. So I went and found this building and dove in. It took a lot of, it took guts, but it took a lot of being tough. You know, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. Boy, I had the dumb stuff covered, so.
Yeah, so
that's it.
Yeah, that was 2012. It's 2017 now. I'm sure you have a million stories you could tell in that 5-year time frame, but what's maybe one story throughout that first 5 years that either kind of changed the direction of the gym or, kind of elevated you potentially to that next level?
It would really be, it'd be getting in touch with two things that really changed how I operate up here, which before these moments of time, it was very much how can we survive, pretty much, and how can I do what I love doing? And I really worried more about me. And even though I had staff, even though I had all these members, at the end of the day, it was still about me. And so a couple points in time, really getting in touch with why I do this and what I want other people to feel when they walk in the door really changed my whole perspective of it. So
what is that? What do you want? What do you want people to feel when they walk into your gym?
Right. So here's the story. We have a member come in. He's just checking it out. He moves every 3 months for his job. He just moved here to Little Rock, and he's never been in one place longer than 3 months, maybe 4 or 5. And he's like, hey, I heard about the last place I was. I just moved here. I wanted to try it out. I'm going to move again. I have no plans on staying, but I do want to try it out. And I was like, okay, cool. And, back then we didn't call it a structured process or anything. I would just sit and talk with everybody before they joined.
Right.
And get to know them. And, what I really heard in that conversation was like, man, this guy's got to have some level of loneliness because he's moving every 3 months, has to get up, change his whole life, meet new people, stuff like how much good would it be for him to really get to know people, to have a group and to have a tribe, at least one of those places. Right. So I was like, dude, jump in, let's go. And like we did our, foundations back then, got him on board. So a year down the road, he's, at the time, he's really overweight, really unhealthy. He's lost 70, 80 pounds. He's adopted a paleo lifestyle all on his own. Awesome. We were just trying to support. We didn't teach him this stuff really. And he became like a model of how you can change your life. And he was one of everybody's favorite people. Super fun to be around, super genuine. He was a good dude, and he rubbed off on you when you're around him.
Yeah.
So he goes off on this trip, and he goes back to his hometown, and he's like, yeah, man, I'll bring you a shirt from CrossFit, I think, when I go visit. And I was like, okay, cool. He comes back, brings me a shirt, and I was like, yeah, tell me about it. It's like, dude, the gym was crazy. It was like, there had to be $1 million sunk into this place. It had marble countertops. It was real retail appeal. Dude, they know what they're doing with the business side of things. Yeah, that's awesome. And 24-year-old me is like, did we mop the floors last night?
Yeah.
So he's telling me about it, and I'm just getting into my head thinking about man, we could do things so much better here. Why are we not there yet? And he never stopped talking, but he cut my thought off, and he was like, yeah, man, but this is home. This is home.
Yeah.
And it's like just cut me right into the chest. And like that same conversation before we walked out of the gym, I was like, oh my God, you've been here for a year. You're supposed to move 9 months ago. He's like, yeah, man, but this is home. And like, I didn't sleep for like 2 days. And just when it hit me how much magnitude him coming here had in his life, and how like I hadn't even thought about it that far. I was like, think of the impact that you're really having on people that you don't even know about. Yep. So after that day, my mind switch took the change, and like it was gradual, but it took the change of like not what do I want to be doing, what do I want this to look like. It was like, what do I want people to feel like when they come here?
Yeah. So Jeff, how did you take that one experience? I feel like there's a lot of affiliates out there that have that one member that kind of changed everything for them. I do feel like that relationship that you just talked about happens often. How did you take that one relationship though and then duplicate it to however many members you have now to where you could potentially try and get that same experience for each person?
Yeah, consistency, and that comes through really defining what the roles and tasks of each job is at the gym, and being very clear and upfront with your staff about how you don't even got to be like so strict about how you want those roles executed, but just that everybody knows what they're responsible for and how you can provide that consistent experience. And you can roadmap that with just roles and tasks. Like, it's like, for me, it's like when people come in, you call them by first name. Hey, John, like first name, that's us. Right. There's no key card. They can sign in on an iPad. They can go one drop, do something, but like first name basis, like this is family here. So just almost everything's geared towards that, like through your classes, through even just like our social media and our content, like it's geared towards being helpful and providing something to people as opposed to selling something. This is not about that for us. So definitely roles and tasks, and just giving them what they deserve as your client, which is consistency every time. Everybody's class should be just as good as the last one. And if the next one is better, then like the coaches after that got to step it up, and now it's a game and now it's fun.
Right. How many coaches do you have there on staff, Jeff?
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on staff. And so we have coaches. Coaches just come in, all they do is coach. Like, here's your classes. You can run extra clinics if you want to. Kind of do your own program. And then we have trainers, which are, coaches are part-time. You can have like another job and, do this because you love it. You have passion for it. Passion for people. Love us. We love you.
Yep.
The trainers are full-time. And so that comes with personal training and also walking. Each member here, we're just under 140. And we walk each of them through a specific process that we want to happen through their life with us. What does it look like when they come in? What does it look like after 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months? Sitting down, talking with them, calling and emailing them, just listening to them. Like, that's all structured just so the trainers execute on that process. Cool. And then we also have nutrition. We have contractor for nutrition and also an admin manager style person.
Cool. So with all those different roles, how do you kind of keep everybody on the same path as far as, the mindset? How do you keep everybody going the same direction and nobody kind of squandering off, maybe throwing off the boat a little bit?
Live your values. Like, it's that you've got to live your values and what's important to you. So, some of our things, one of our values is sincerity. Like, you can't come up and hide something and feel like you've got to, have a sleuth conversation or feel like you can't go up to a staff member or anyone else and you can't be open and honest at that time. There's a problem. So sincerity is really big with us. And you have to live that. You can't just say it. You've got to, you have to be vulnerable with your staff and sit down and talk with them. And listen, because they want to sit down and talk with you. The same for, the way that we look at members here and our relationships to us. What I try to preach, but more often just try to do, is one of my values on my little whiteboard of my mirror at home in the bathroom, because I remind myself every day, is 5149. For any of you like Vayner, Grinder Chuck, or Gary
I love
Vaynerchuk
me some
guys.
Gary V. I'm addicted. I'm not gonna lie. I'm addicted to Gary V.
Yeah, man. I haven't followed his stuff in a while, but dude, he's smart. Because that guy cares about. He focuses on the things he cares about.
Right.
But one of them is 5149. Like, whatever relationship you have, be the giver in that relationship. And if somebody outgives you, that's just twice as good. But like, be a giver because you want to be. Don't feel like you got to be forced into it.
Right.
Everyone's blanket values of like honesty or integrity and stuff. Like, you could go Google it.
Right.
Like, Google a list of 1,000 words. But like, it's got to be stuff that really matters to you.
Right.
So I've got my own, and I live those. And what that does is I don't force them on anyone, but what it will do is it will draw the people towards you who share those values and they're aligned with yours. And on the harder side of it is that it's also going to allow the people who aren't compatible with you to leave, or to get themselves to go, or to feel like this isn't our right place. And it's at that point, it's real simple because nobody's wrong. It's just like the values aren't lining up, and then there's a better place for it. And what that does is it opens that spot for the next person to come into who will line up with your values.
That's great.
And that's how I've gotten to where the staff that I have now, and I'm super lucky, super blessed to have them. But definitely living your values is going to draw the right people in and create a barrier for the wrong people to not get in. Not bad people, but just bring into your bubble, and the people who will look at the bubble will be like, I'm not about that. Like, that's cool. There's so many bubbles you could go look at. So that's it.
Yeah.
Live your values.
That's great, man. I think that for me, being a consistent person on every single level, whether it's me personally, like as an athlete, at my job, as a boyfriend, whatever it may be, just being very, very consistent, like what you were talking about with your consistency in your gym. I think, unfortunately, people try to almost put on masks sometimes because they're so worried about not being themselves. Where the best relationships I've ever had and continue to have are the ones where from day one, the first second I was myself, and I was open about who I am, what they're getting themselves into. And then, like you said, either they migrate towards that or they migrate away from it.
Either way, it ends up with you both being happier.
Exactly. And potentially both of us getting something out of that relationship right from the get-go, which is cool.
Yep.
Well, speaking of relationships, let's talk a little bit about how we kind of met. I think that'd be kind of cool to touch on a little bit. I know you're very involved with the CrossFit community and a lot of the different things that you do. Believe it or not, I believe we met in Minnesota. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, we met. I went up, blew an air horn in your face. That's how we met.
Yeah, so you helped out with Granite Games, is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool. So for those of you listening that don't know too much about me, I'm an MC. I travel all over the nation and get to be a part of a bunch of cool events as part of our community. And one of them is the Granite Games held up in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And that was where me and Jeff first got introduced to one another. And Jeff, talk a little bit about what you learned from those events, being a part of it. What was your role? And what's stuff that you can potentially take either back to your gym to run an event or just to implement in your everyday facilities there?
Sure. So Granite Games is actually the most recent part of my event career. I had started off, 2012, we held like the first Christmas themed CrossFit competition here in Little Rock. And that was my first exposure to it. And from there, it eventually led to judging at regionals. Cool. And I moved into like management and leadership positions at the Central Super Regional for 2 years. And I went to Granite Games after that. And I've just helped out in a ton of local events as well and other affiliates and traveled a little bit. My role at most events is a judging leadership role of sorts.
Okay.
So my official title at Granite Games is head judge. And so we may have 60 judges on a floor, like in the hockey center.
Right.
And there's two guys who are running the entire floor. We don't run the show, the judges run the show, but we are there to support them. We make sure that everything goes off at this exact specific time down to the minute, and I'm sure you probably have had like great moments and being frustrating moments with me. Like we're trying, we've got blood over here. I've got 6 barbells that need extra plates, and there's 8 people missing out of here, and there's 50,000 things going on. There's 6 different teams running at once, hundreds of people to put on everything to go at the right moment. So the head judges basically ensure that everything goes off at the right time with the right people in the right place with the right equipment. So it's a lot of, I think the best description I ever heard of what we do or who we are ducks.
Okay.
And I was like, what the hell? They're like, no, dude, it's perfect. You are, and I was the most relaxed duck was my title last time, because ducks like see them on the water and they're just floating around, just like hanging out, whatever. But if you go under the water, you look at their feet, they're just losing their mind. That's my role. And I guess I don't know it, but I guess I've kind of like gotten this reputation as like just the dude that walks around looking like he doesn't care what's going on. But I swear I do. I just don't have to get pushed on my face anymore. Cool. But that's my job.
Awesome.
So any disputes and stuff, we kind of take care of that as well. Yeah. Not negotiate, but go back and forth between scoring and the directing team and answer questions from athletes. We're there for the briefs, all that fun stuff. Things I would take away from that and what I do. I think the biggest takeaway, the one thing I'd share after like 5 years of doing events from that big to even smaller ones, every event's got its own appeal. And no matter what the appeal, no matter what the event, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And that's the way to extend that is it's not just athletes, it's your volunteers, it's the people who are vendors and help putting it on, it's people who are dedicating their time. Just even the people, even the venue, like rented out a college campus, rented out an entire high school athletic campus and complex for our last event. And like half my job was to make sure those people were happy so that we could go back.
Right.
But I was only able to do that because everyone else on the staff was making sure everyone else was happy.
Yeah.
And that was, that's really takeaways. Don't lose sight of keeping people happy and making sure people want to be there, are actually enjoying their time and being happy in exchange for like PRs or special premium prizes or some type of fame, I guess. Like, it's all about happiness and all about the good feels, bro.
Yeah. Well, about the good feels.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, if there's an affiliate out there that is kind of on the fence about should I do my own competition, should I do an in-house competition, how do I promote it, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, what's just like a general statement or kind of motivation you can give to them, some words of advice for the people that are kind of right in that area?
Don't do it. Let me turn this air off. I'm freezing back here. It's the same as when someone asks me, like, I want to start a CrossFit. I'm like, don't do it. Like, if I can convince you to not do it, you shouldn't do it. But, like, if I try my hardest and you're like, I'm still doing it, I'm like, you got what it takes, bro. You go on, like, right here, fam. Got you.
So if they're going to do it, they better do it is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. I think if no one can talk you out of it, you should do it. You've got to start small. Or if you're doing your own event, start it small. Start with your own membership. If you are not going to start small like that, then get some experience working in other ones. A lot of the events that I have here and templates that I have and I've given to other people to use for their events and stuff too have really come from my experience at regionals and being behind the scenes and seeing, I've been a judge, I've been just a volunteer moving flags and stuff, and I've gone to very much behind the scenes and hanging out, in the media booth, like, okay, this is going to go live, what do we want this to look like, what should the judges be doing and not doing, where should the athletes be, like, to see all those different levels. experience is key if you want to put one on that's going to eventually grow and scale, is get as much experience as you can. Make sure that if you want to, first ask why you want to do it. Like, what's the point?
Right.
If you want to have an event to have an event, I definitely think a little bit more on it. And when you have a feeling or you have an idea why you're doing your event, then I'd build off of that. And everything you do from that point should be a way to platform that reason up. So if you want your event to make people feel like they are an athlete for one day out of the year, everything you should do should be built around that. Like, if your goal of your event is to appeal to the pros, appeal to the pros. And if you just want people to come in who've never done an event before and do their very first one, and you want them to have a blast, that's what you got to work on.
Right.
So get really clear and define why you're doing it, and then everything else from there. At least it's not going to be always easy, but it at least is simple, and then it's guided towards that one purpose. I could probably go on for a much longer podcast about that, like behind the scenes. Make sure you have more staff than you need.
Yeah.
Don't plan on selling out ever, but equip yourself as if you were.
Yep.
And always plan for extra time. Like one of my biggest, it's not a peeve, but one of the things I pay most attention to is the timing of how things are run. Like, how often do your athletes sit down in between workouts?
Yeah.
If they sit there for 3 hours, it's maybe not what you're looking for. If it's a 3-day event, then that's probably a good idea. But
Right.
Keep a good timeline and plan for stuff to go awry, and plan on finishing early. And if you don't, then you had that extra time allotted. So some blanket statement there.
I like it. I think that's all good stuff, especially for somebody who's looking to potentially, or they have one planned, but they need maybe a couple keywords as far as staying on schedule and things like that. I think that was perfect. You hit it right on the head there, man. Jeff, one thing I did want to talk about is I feel like you are a content specialist. Now that I know you watch some Gary Vee videos, I know where that's potentially stemming from, but I would really love to pick your brain a little bit about that. I know you got a lot of cool projects. I noticed you're doing the FitCast podcast there at your gym, that's a very cool aspect. We'll talk about that in a second, as well as your coach's tip of the day. I saw that on your social media and things like that. So let's just go ahead and get a little introduction of what you do as far as content, and then we'll dive a little bit more as to who, what, when, where, why, how.
Yeah. So what I do and why I do content, really the whole point of content marketing, if you're looking at it from a business aspect, I'll approach this from two angles, right? So you have your business reasons for approaching it, and then you have like your own reasons for approaching it. And so mine is to educate and share what I've gained over my history of doing this, because I know it can help other people, and it can really shorten the learning curve and shorten the learning time for them to I want to be here, I'm currently here, whether that's a muscle up or it is a nutrition thing or it is like mindset, and you keep getting in your own way because you don't show up as your authentic self, like those are my black and white videos. And if I can get you closer to here with within 1 minute on Instagram, I'm crazy to not do it, because that makes me fulfilled, right?
Right.
So that's the personal side. The business side of approaching that is with your content, you're positioning yourself as someone who's like an SME or a subject matter expert in certain areas, and you producing content not only shows your level of expertise, but more importantly, allows the people who are looking for you or aware of you to get to know you a little bit better before they pull the trigger to call you or to talk to you, or to seek out a place that's local near them that has nothing to do with you but would improve their life. So the best way to sum it up as to why I do it as far as CrossFit and business goes, is I would gamble money, not a lot, but some, that I gamble a bunch, that everybody who has come in here and signed up, whether it's personal training or it is me as their personal coach and like other aspects, or as a member, they have looked at my Facebook and they looked at my Instagram. They've definitely looked at the gyms.
Right.
They're looking, and if you have, if you want to look at it from an affiliate owner standpoint, if you're an affiliate and a couple miles down the road is another one, they're in between the both of you, or let's just say even that they're 2 minutes away from that one and they're 10 minutes from you, and they're like looking to make a step in their life. They know they have something they want to work on, and they're aware of what they need to do, but not who to do it with. And they go to their content, their social media, their blog posts, their podcasts, their videos, whatever that is, whatever ways they're putting themselves out in the world, and they don't see much. And then they go to you and they see like, oh, this guy's got like 900 videos on like how to stop putting on too much chalk on my hands, or like whatever it is,
Right.
or like muscle ups or mindset stuff and nutrition. But you're putting your stuff out there, you're sharing, that also displays to them what kind of person you are that you share.
Right.
I bet money they're coming to you and they're going to drive right past the other one. And if they take the time to go in and then they take the time to come to you, then it's not a better or worse. It's just they feel like they know you better. So as an affiliate owner standpoint, everyone's got that 1 minute a day, put something on Instagram and share it. Like it's silly to not do it. So both reasons there for doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that the hesitation always gets in our way, right? We have that feeling of whether it's, I don't want to put myself on video, I'm not handsome enough, my voice sounds stupid on camera, whatever it may be. I think that can potentially hold an affiliate back from making that kind of content, which essentially is going to make them lose potential clients down the line. So what do you have to say to somebody who's kind of in that position that's, I see Jeff's videos, man, he does such a good job, I wish I could do that. Where do they even start? Is it just simply get off your butt and start? What do you got for me, man?
Yeah. So here's what I look at, and I'll disclaimer this with, I've never thought I was a content dude or a guy who does really good with web content, or anyone read my blog or any of that stuff, until people started reaching out to me and telling me. And I'm known, like, I'm in a business group with a lot of CrossFits, and like I'm supposedly the content guy. And I like walked in, I was like, well, good to meet you too. What's your name? And it didn't happen until like almost a year after just putting stuff out all the time that happened. So I don't really see myself as like, I didn't until people told me I was. But even if I am like this content machine dude, like I feel all those exact same feelings. And like if you feel them, it's just because you're normal.
Yeah.
So getting in front of the camera, being a little bit, like, did I say that right? Did my lip quiver too much when I got kind of deep there? Like what? Like it happens, and all of us do that. And the way you get better is that you develop it, and you develop it by doing it. So I think that it's easier if you pick things that you love talking about or that you're good at, because it's going to make you feel like more in your element. Do it in your own gym. To start with, or do it at home wherever you feel more comfortable. Do it with your dog in the frame if you feel more comfortable with your dog. Like whatever makes you more comfortable, start there. And the more you do it, the better you're gonna get, and the less you're gonna worry about stuff, because people have been like, "That's a great video." I've been like, "There are like 8 things wrong with that video, and I didn't even want to put it up."
Yeah.
So I think we're just harsh on ourselves. I would challenge everybody to do the 30-day content challenge.
What is the 30-day content challenge?
Let me finish thinking it up, and I'll tell you. So, no, this is a good one. This is, you take, I got this from Chris Cooper. 30 days. I don't know where he got it. Maybe he made it up. Every day for 30 days, just make one piece of content and put it out. And by the end of that 30 days, like, dude, you're going to be light years ahead of where you were when you started. And it's no longer going to be a fear or a weird thing for you anymore, because after 30 of them, if you're anything like majority of us, that first day, that one piece of content took you like 50 shots.
Yeah.
So like you've got at least 1,000 attempts by the end of the 30 days. But I would challenge everybody to do that if you're hesitant.
Yeah.
And it doesn't got to be about anything, because remember, part of the goal here is to just communicate and connect better with the people that you care about and that care about you. And if you make that your goal, like, you win just by getting on the camera, or a blog or anything. Like, I think my writing is so fishy and weird, like the way that I frame. I'm a nitpicker when it comes to writing. But like, I was like, nobody will want to read this stuff ever, because like I just speak in questions and riddles. And like, the blog has it's a little over like 1,000 readers now. It's way bigger than anything I ever thought. And like, I'm the most surprised by like the things I expected to do the worst actually has been like doing the best. So don't put your own projections onto yourself. Just do it and make the goal connecting.
All right, so I get past that first wave of being scared and being nervous. I post my first video on YouTube. And now for the next 24 hours, I'm sitting there refreshing my phone, seeing who's commented, who's viewed it. And at the end of those 24 hours, the only person that's viewed it is me.
Yeah.
That's going to happen, right? I mean, if it's your first video, you don't have a lot of traction. You can't come in obviously with the expectations of I'm going to post one video and it's going to go viral and it's going to be the coolest thing ever. So what suggestions do you have as far as when you build that content? What happens? Okay, you push record, you're done recording, you turn the camera off. Jeff, what steps after that happen, to make sure that you're, one, keeping your chest still out, you're not like, oh man, I really suck at this. But instead of doing that, you're building the content, you're putting it out there, and you're just simply moving on to what's next. Yeah.
So step one, don't use YouTube. No, like you could use whatever platform you like. I think Google-based stuff and Facebook kind of don't agree with each other. If you can post it natively on Facebook, do it. If you've got the time, or if you've got, it's one of the two. If you have time or a really good internet connection, post to all of them, right? Native is best. So yeah, it's really about like what expectations that you have of yourself and what your whole point of this is. What's your goal? If your goal is to communicate with people and connect with them, and you're doing what you love, then is this like an explicit podcast? Can I cuss?
Go ahead. You can. I'll edit it if I need to.
All right, yeah, just bleep me out on this. And brother, post that shit and go about your day.
Yeah.
And because like that's it. You've hit your goal already. I wouldn't recommend chasing stuff for like likes, because a like is not a new member in your gym, and a comment is not somebody saying like, this changed my life. I mean, it's not that. You just have to be okay with if you're doing what you love and you're putting that out there into the world, like, that's enough. And you'll know it too. If you've got this, like, I got to see what I got, like, maybe consider a subject change then. Not stop what you're doing, but maybe what you're talking about. Or have someone else do it for you and pay them. So I really think that the best thing for you to do is to record it. There's two ways I like to do it. You record it, go about your day. And that's when like I don't have a lot of time during the day, because I've like overbooked myself with other stuff. Right. And the times where I got like 12 minutes here, and then I'm just going to set up the camera, and I'm just going to like blaze through. I'm going to try and get 3 or 4 little minute long posts, and then I've got them loaded up for next week. And you can tell when I do, because I'm like, Jeff, you're with your nutrition coach tip of the day, and it's like 6 days and I'm in the same shirt. You're like, this guy washes clothes ever. That's what happened. But yeah, post it, move about your day. Don't worry too much about like all the reactions you get. And like I can tell you from my own experience, it almost comes down to just almost serendipity. It's really just like people finding what you're putting out at the right time. Yeah. And it's the specific person that needed that message, and you put out the message at that perfect time. Like the videos that I have that, like some of my favorite ones I ever shot or had the most fun, like, maybe a few guys see it on YouTube and no comments or whatever. And then there's videos that like they start going like 10, 20,000 views and whatnot. I'm like, why do you people watch this?
Right, and you didn't even plan on it, and maybe you even thought it was like your worst video.
Yeah, there's one that like popped up in my newsfeed. It was like the memory thing, like, you did this last year, and I clicked it and I tracked through like all the groups that it like made its way through and had gotten shared, which was like a huge way to like really boost the exposure. Like people shared it in all these groups,
right?
And they share, if your video gets shared with like an RP templates group or something, there's a bazillion people in there, so like, oh, you now have 50 bazillion views,
right?
But like, what was the goal? Just educate and help people. Like you had that with 2 people now, so don't worry about it. Just post and go.
So let's talk a little bit about like your content in the content you put out for your gym and the content you put out maybe for like your personal brand or your personal self. How do you distinguish the two? Are they the same thing? Do you think they're the same thing? Are they not the same thing? What's the difference between Jeff's content and West Little Rock's content? Or is it essentially the same thing?
For me, it is essentially the same thing. I played with that idea for a while, and I've seen some people play around with this is my gym or my event, and then this is like me. And like it's very, and it's like very, very Gary Vaynerchuk-ish. And we probably have him as mutual friends. And I think that some people, maybe that works. When I think about when I'm putting something up or when I'm creating content, and should disclaimer that my staff makes a ton of content, by the way. Like they do a lot of it.
Right.
We've got there's ways of doing that. I guess I'll save that for another question later. But anyway, back to what I'm putting up. It goes back to if I'm doing what I love, then I'm just going to put it up, and that's usually CrossFit.
Yeah.
And so most of my following, they do CrossFit or they're at least active, or like a new realm that's kind of interesting is a crowd of people who enjoy philosophy and stoic stuff, and they kind of mesh together. They're both very results oriented, logic based type thinkers. So I just put up the stuff, I put up the content, whether it's a blog post or whatever it is. And like my blog is hosted on westlittlerockcrossfit.com. There's no jeffjucha.com. Yeah. I think that if I had if I was branding myself as a business personality, that I probably would. And I'd be like, because then the question's different for the person reading your stuff. It's what can Jeff Jucha do for me?
Right.
And it's a personal brand. But if it's, the stuff I love doing, which is mostly CrossFit, it's kind of, what's West Little Rock CrossFit able to do for me? And what is this guy who's just one part of that, one cog in that working machine able to do for me? Or what value do I get out of it? It's all the same. So I think most of us, we're just fine combining it. And if you have like a different thing that you're fully dedicated to, then I'd probably look at personal branding.
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of a catch-22. We of course have a great brand here at Driven, and I'm very involved being the media director as far as some of the content that we put out for our affiliates, of course, and for our clients, things like that. But then I also like to think I live a really cool life.
Yeah, you for sure need to.
I get to go on a ton of trips, and I just have a bunch of cool people I get to hang out with, and I want to introduce those people to the world. It's pretty much kind of the mindset there. So for me, I just kind of have to make sure whatever mindset I have set for that event or for that blog or for whatever it may be, that my mindset and my heart is in the right place for that, right? So when I'm doing something for Driven, like for instance this podcast, I'm trying to get the most out of me and you for our affiliates, right? Where when I'm doing the stuff for myself, my own vlog, it's kind of just for me, I think, like I said, the stuff I get to do is really cool. The people I surround myself with are even cooler. So I just want to share that with the world. So I think just making sure going into whatever version of media you're going to do, that your mindset is set up, you kind of clear your brain of whatever else may be going on in that moment, and really just kind of direct yourself and focus on that one thing.
Yeah, that's totally true. And it's exactly why you should have it that way, is because if I follow Driven, it's because I want to follow Driven and like what that's what that value is and what those images and that video and that content, all of that is, because it's Driven. Right. But if I want to follow Brenton, then maybe I don't need to go follow Driven. I can just follow Brenton and like watch the Whatappalooza stuff and like all the, like, you know, your fun adventures we've had. Yeah. And like I would be down for that. But it's like it's two separate things. Yeah. And so you're in the perfect position to do that. Yeah. And so for someone like me, like I don't live an exciting life, Brenton. But it's like 95% of stuff about me is stuff about, you know, the gym. So, you know, for me, it works like that. So it's a perfect example.
Yeah. And the cool thing is like kind of just going back to the content that you were talking about, just putting it out there, right? So maybe somebody does see one of my videos that comes across for whatever reason. They don't really have an interest of what I'm doing, but they're like, hey, that guy looks familiar from that Driven video. Then it kind of starts intermingling, right? Or maybe somebody doesn't have an interest in Driven Nutrition, but they're like, man, this guy's good on camera. I wonder what else he does. Then it can open up a platform, you know, kind of both ways. So I think just making sure that you're consistent, right?
Yep.
It goes back to that consistency of making sure your content, whether it's your mindset may be a little different, but the true consistency of who you are inside of that content is the same. I think that your audience is going to grow and get the most out of what you're putting out because your heart's in the right place for that set of content.
Yeah. Very true.
For sure, man. Well, I tell you what, Jeff, we covered a ton, man. It was a blast to hang out with you for a little bit. I think that we gave a lot of good examples and some good tips moving forward with affiliates. I think the biggest thing I got out of even just the last 10 minutes is just do it. What's the worst that could happen, right? Yeah, I mean, and you could take that in the spirit of giving something to affiliates. You know, even it's perfect for content, but it goes even further beyond. Is, you know, ask yourself, like, what is the worst case scenario? With an Instagram video, that's pretty light. With like a hard affiliate decision, like maybe I have this toxic staff member. Yeah. Well, what's the worst case scenario? And then like someone would reply to me with like, well, they quit and leave and they take my members and they take half my members. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not bad enough. What's really bad? Yeah. And I was like, they take all of them. I was like, and then what? And I'm like, I don't know, I guess I close them. And then what? Act like this really annoying persona. And they're like, well, and it like ends at like, well, I guess I'd like live with my parents again since I'm like 40 and like finally like find a way to start another CrossFit gym. And I was like, and then what? And they're like, then that shit would be really successful. I was like, worst case scenario. And like, could you survive that? Right. Yeah. Like, then you're crazy to not do it. Yeah. So, and if you're not, then it's robbing you of your happiness. But that's another topic for another day. We'll have to save that one for another one. Yeah. So, moral of the story: do your Instagram videos and quit complaining. Yeah. I mean, get the content out there. If you like it, somebody else is gonna like it. I think that's one thing that I always come back to is if I enjoy it, somebody else out there will enjoy it. It may not be the exact audience when I want it, how I want it, but eventually that audience will grow and will get what I'm trying to get to them. So. Yeah, and more importantly, there'll be people who like you and are compatible with you. Yeah. Instead of just any person coming in and you find out like this is not a good match, the people who find your content and follow it and come to you because of it, like they're gonna be a good match. And that's the secret sauce, man. And then your value of life just tremendously grows very quickly. Yeah, like lights are brighter, your credit score is better, it's good. It's awesome. All right, man. Last question I got for you. Have you seen the new Thor movie yet? No, I haven't. Tell me about it. It's great. You're gonna love it. I went last night, and it's a great one. You'll like it. I gotta go watch the second one before I watch this one. Gotta get caught up. I get you. Yeah, I need to. I've been catching up all my seasons of Game of Thrones, so when I'm done, I'll check this out next. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Jeff, for hanging out with us. We'll be sure to include how everybody can get a hold of you. Let's go ahead. Why don't you just hit that? Go go ahead and hit us with your Facebook, your Instagram, all that good stuff, and we'll shut this thing down.
Yeah, sure. So my gym and my website is West Little Rock CrossFit. Just tack on .com onto that, and that's how you find me on the interwebs.
Okay.
And my Instagram is at Jr Jucha. That's it's JRJUCHA. I'm on Facebook. You just search Jucha. There's not a ton of. There's like 3 of us in the world, so
they'll find you.
One of them is my dog. He has a Facebook account, so I'm the one without the furry face. Who surprisingly has a great following, by the way.
What kind of dog you got?
He is a plot hound.
Awesome.
He's it's the breed no one's heard of. He's a hog dog. You just take him out and go hunt hogs with him. But he's a rescue. The only thing he hunts is like my leftovers on the counter. So,
awesome.
But yeah, that's Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Twitter, but I'll be honest with you, it's just like an auto post thing. I don't do anything on Twitter. I also don't listen to 8-track players anymore either. So, yeah, that's how you can get in touch with me, or just reach out. If you got questions about events or anything, I'm happy to help for free.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Guys, once again, make sure to find him. His content is cool. It's the perfect example of just get off your ass.
Flexing.
Just get off your ass and do it, right?
Pretty much.
All right, Jeff. Hey, I appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks a lot, brother. We'll see you soon.
All right.